How's it going, everybody? It's Mr. Misclick here, and today we have 5 quick tips to help you with juniors. And these are just some easy basic tips to help you learn the gameplay, since juniors does have kind of a unique gameplay loop. And I'm by no means an expert at this game, since I still have only beaten the first couple nights. But I did spend like 2 to 3 hours basically trying this over and over again and learning these things slowly. So it is a very fun game, by the way, and I've really enjoyed playing it. So my first tip is to take your time at the start. The faster you find the haunted animatronic, the better, is true, and you can even breeze past the first night or two simply by guessing. However, the later nights require a lot more investigation, so it's best to let each animatronic get to about 70 as far as the animatronic stability goes before you worry about repairing ones that aren't haunted. My main point with this is not to rush into making a decision about who's haunted and marking them unless you're totally sure or fairly sure. At the start of the game, there's not a lot happening, and you really have to look at them for a little while to kind of see the signs and figure out what's happening. Although if you are sure and you think you have the right animatronic, the faster you get it going, the better. But like I said, I noticed myself rushing at the start and being like, oh, I gotta pick this one. And there's really no point in starting to panic and repair all the other animatronics until they at least start to get to a certain point. On the flip side, you can't wait too long, because if they're all at 10, you're not going to be able to repair them in time. My next big tip, and something that I kind of happened to me, was don't get totally fixated on the handprints on the screen. I made this mistake when I was trying to beat Night 2, and it slowed me down a lot. The handprints are much easier to spot, and they're very obvious, so it's really easy to get overly fixated on them. But you really just want to use them as your first major clue. And if there's never any handprints at all, whenever you see an animatronic, then most likely they are not haunted, and there's a good chance it's safe. However, the handprints will also stay behind on the screens. So just because there is handprints doesn't mean the haunted animatronic is there. Sometimes they've already moved on, so you really have to try to follow them and basically check all the cameras with handprints and assess them. And there can definitely be multiple animatronics on one screen, and you also have to remember marionette can be haunting the screen and you won't see. And the biggest thing I learned through trial and error is that you always want to also pay attention to the flickering lights and the weird behavior, because seeing that combined with the hands is a lot safer than just seeing some handprints on the screen. If you've been watching them hard enough, you may still be able to tell and guess based on just the handprints, but like I said, I died a lot using just that, and finally I realized that I needed to focus also on the flickering lights and other stuff like that. Another thing that I struggled with that I wanted to try to help you guys out a little bit is how to find the marionette. Now, once again, I'm by no means an expert at this, but I spent, once again, a majority of the stream not knowing how to find it or not paying attention. Marionette can be hard to find, mainly because you'll always find yourself paying more attention to the easier to spot characters. You know, if I'm in a room and I start to see handprints and stuff like that, I automatically go to like, oh, it's Foxy, or oh, it's Bonnie. And it's very easy to forget that the marionette can also be the one causing those signs. So the first thing you have to do is you always want to have the radio on, and basically whichever screen you're on, if the marionette is there, you're going to hear the sound as long as that little button is pressed. So always pay attention to that and try to be aware of marionette's location. And if you happen to see all the signs, the smudges and the handprints and stuff, and someone is on the screen and a marionette's also there, you may want to sit there and wait a little bit and try to find some more information. The biggest sign that I found that marionette's in a room is the flickering lights. So if you hear the marionette song and you're seeing flickering lights, you can almost guarantee that it's marionette. So that's one of those situations where you really do want to pay attention to the lights. And you know, you can guess if you're fairly sure, but it is risky. But just remember that guessing is easier on the first couple nights, but if you guess 2 or 3 of them wrong and end up having to repair too many of them, it can be a huge setback. My next tip is a reminder to never forget about Balloon Baby. You haven't forgotten about him, and he hasn't forgotten about you. Always glance at his numbers after a ghost change. Once again, I spent most of the stream not paying attention to those numbers and not paying attention to Balloon Baby. And so if you're having trouble finding signs of any other regular animatronic or marionette being haunted, always go back and glance at the numbers to see if they're glitchy. And always remember to glance at his 2 numbers on the animatronic repair screen to see if as soon as the ghost changes, always check those numbers. I tended to forget about Balloon Baby a lot, but he is actually one of the easiest ones because as soon as you see those numbers, all you got to do is mark him and you're on to the next round. And my final tip is something I mentioned earlier. It's a little bit of a riskier one, but on earlier nights, especially the first 1 and 2, don't be afraid to guess. If you can narrow it down to 2 or 3 animatronics that might be haunted, it's totally possible to, fail one of those or fail 2 of those and still be okay. From what I see, you basically just lose 50 stability. I don't know if it goes up on any of the later nights each time you guess wrong. And basically what you're going to do is call it over there and repair it if it is wrong. If the animatronic stability is above 50, you technically do have the ability to survive it. It's not going to instantly kill you, but if it's at 60 or so, you're only going to have 10 left if it fails. So what you want to do if you're going to guess it, if you have it narrowed down to a couple of them, just press spacebar to mark the animatronic and you'll immediately tell if it's right or wrong. And if it's wrong, you know it's not haunted, so you want to go ahead and just call it back immediately and start the repair. And the repair process does not take long. It's mostly the time it takes to come down the conveyor belt and the risk of dying if it does happen to be haunted. But you can easily survive 2 or 3 failed guesses. So on the first couple nights where you only have to mark 2 or 3 animatronics, it's still very easy to breeze through. But on the later nights, it's just going to put you behind. And a lot of it depends on where all the other animatronics are at. If all your animatronics still have a pretty high stability, then it's not going to be hard to repair them. But if you're in a situation where they're all down to like 10 or 20 and there's more than 3 of them that need to be repaired, you're most likely not going to make it and you're going to run out of time. So just don't expect to be able to guess wrong, but it's very easy to finish off a night if you know you got a lot of time. And it can sometimes be very hard to truly narrow down the animatronic that's haunted. So that's it for those 5 tips. Hopefully this helped you guys with the learning the general gameplay. And like I said, this game is very fun and definitely does live up to the hype. It has introduced some kind of unique mechanics, so it may take you a little while to learn them. And if you do get past this, there's some secrets on night 6. I haven't gotten to night 6 yet, but some of my viewers have, and it's pretty crazy. So thanks for watching, and hope these basic tips helped you guys.